So at this point, I'm sure you've seen the comp day, right? Won the class, won best lifter, and that's nice. This is a harder one to review because I understand on paper, like, that sounds amazing. You achieved all of the big things, the stuff that would make people really proud, and if that was your goal, I'm sure it would. It wasn't mine. Doing this competition for me was like a couple of things. One, I put so much graft into the prep. Like I really did. I was really proud of every session. Like I looked after my nutrition, I looked after steps every day, I looked after rehab. I did everything I could to be an athlete again. And I just felt embarrassed to myself of like the guy who put in that prep and was like, okay, this is the thing, this is the standard, this is it will pay off because of it. And it's one thing to get an outcome you're not proud of if you didn't do the work. It's another to get the outcome you're not proud of when you did. I've wanted to be an athlete again for years. I got pulled out of being able to compete for a while. That opportunity just wasn't there, and this was like the big return for me. I don't give a fuck about what everyone else thinks. I've actually no interest at all, which is why like the title doesn't mean anything because it wasn't for me. So how do I feel about it? Let's just do a run through. The conditions sucked. I was really disappointed that like getting this morning lift off, 7 a.m. lift off, which means 6 a.m. warming up, except for, oh no, it's 8 a.m. sorry. And so 7 a.m. warming up, but UK time, that's 6 a.m. I was only there for a couple of days. They didn't change, and my sleep's tricky at the best of times. I also really struggled to eat before 10 a.m. So I knew that would be hard, but I was like, we'll figure out the best I can. And the night before, I got 2.5, 3 hours sleep. I was up. And so I immediately was like, fuck, we're going to put it to one side and it's okay. But as soon as you see it rearing its head, you're like, okay, like it has had an impact. And so when we got there, I was like lethargic and trying to eat, and my stomach was not happy about it, but got in some food. And warming up, I was like, I think I feel okay. Degree of adrenaline, excitement to do it. And then the timings were way off on warming up. And I didn't clock it until like 20 minutes out and I had a couple of warm-ups left. And I was trying to be really hands-off with that. And I then started to feel sluggish. And I was like, oh, I'm just a bit more tired than I thought I was. And I took my last warm-up and it felt shit. And just before that, people had been like, oh, you've got these ex-IPF refs who are being brutal on depth. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't give a fuck about like having to squat to depth, but the being brutal shook me. And we actually dropped my opener by 2.5 because I was getting nervous. And then I opened and I was like, it feels fine, but I just felt so out of it. That opening squat, I just didn't feel like I was squatting. I had no awareness. It was so strange. And I was like, well, it's whites, it's depth, we're golden, so we'll squat to that. And the second attempt only went up 7.5 just to be cautious because I didn't want to push the squat too hard. And I lost my groove at the bottom and actually sank it too low. And then I got 2 reds on depth. And then I knew it was going to be a hard day. Not because the strength wasn't there, which it wasn't. I knew on that second I didn't feel as strong as I thought I would. Or that taper should have allowed or peak. And I have no idea, outside of shit sleep, what else went on there because there's no other factor. Prep was great. I was so excited to compete. And then on the third, I was like, I can't squat lower than that because that was me losing position. So I'm going to squat the same as I did on the opener. And then I got white lights. Then I was pissed off because I don't mind being held to a standard. I just mind when the standard changes. And I was like, that's fine. It's squats. I can put it to bed. It's more than last comp. So let's get into bench. And then bench, they were like, pauses are fair. Once it stands still, you're good. You go again. And warming up, I was like, I don't feel great. And the timing was wrong again, which was really frustrating. And I was like, it's okay, but I'd like to bring the opener down. I had a shoulder injury 2 weeks out. I didn't really talk about it publicly. And bench tanked. And I was like, I'm just going to bring it down a little bit to be safe. I actually wanted to bring it down to 140. The guys were like, you should not bring it lower than 142. So I opened at 142. And then I got pauses. Now, don't get me wrong, my control wasn't great. I think it was the fact that the actual bench itself had like a T at the bottom, which means my foot position had to change. I can work with that. It's annoying, but I can work with it. So I think my stability took a little bit of a hit. So the first one like touched a bit bumpy, and then it was stationary. And then 2 seconds later, I got a press. And I'm not ever going to complain about like harsh commands. I'm like, harsh is harsh. But it was odd because no one else in the flight was getting the same sort of command. I was like, this is really weird. And I was one of the only British guys in the flight. I do my second attempt and the contact is good and the pause is longer. There's a video of it, and I don't know if I'm out of my mind, but I failed that, and that's 147. I cannot explain how embarrassing that is for me. That was my first single of prep, and it was piss. And I was not being generous with my pauses. So at that point, I can't. I actually put my singlet down, took off my wrist wraps, and was like, I'm not doing a third, because I can't get that on a 3 count. And then I had a bit of a, which I think I needed, like a fuck you energy of being like, you know what? No, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna make it like, I'm gonna get it done, and I am gonna hit it. And it was certainty. Where the fuck that guy was the rest of the day, I do not know, because he did not show up. And I hit it on the third, and then I shook the ref's hand and told him he was a funny bastard, and that was all a giggle. But it was odd, because after that, that ref got removed for intentionally not following the rules, and it seemed to have something to do with the British team versus whatever. So anyway, that was gutting, and at that point, I was 4 for 6. I have never done that. And that was when I was like, it just is. Like, that's what today is. And so from there forward, didn't matter that much to me, because you could have given me 3 for 3 on deadlift, and I'd be like, I know I can deadlift. And then I couldn't. So warming up, I hit a lot of caffeine. I was very aware I was getting very, very tired. I'm yawning now thinking about how I felt. And it was exhausting. And then I warmed up, just being like, right, no, cocky arrogance. This is what you fucking do. This is the one that can still show up. Doesn't matter the rest of the day. Put it to one side. Be a fucking goldfish. And I did put it to one side. And I was warming up and I was fucking loving it. And the timings were better. And I pulled the last warm up and I was like, that didn't feel snappy. That didn't feel as strong as it has in prep. And I couldn't, like, at that point, I was just putting it to one side. I did my opener and I was like, well, the 280's not there. Which my whole prep, it was there. Like, I could have pulled it 2 or 3 occasions during prep, I'm certain. But I pulled my opener and then we went to 270. And I was like, there's nothing left. Like, I'm just tired. And I came up for 275, which was like, I can fucking hit 275. And then I didn't. And I cannot begin to explain. Like I say, it's one thing when you haven't put in the work, but when you're like, it's fucking there. Like, I have to be able to do this. Not I have to because it earns something, so I don't give a fuck. I have to because there's no way that doesn't come about. And I was so gutted. And I was like, fine, whatever. And then we stepped out, and then I was like, I need a minute. And it was at that point I realized how ashamed I felt. I adore being a coach. And it comes with the pressure that I put on myself of leading from the front, of being like, yeah, well, like if I talk about standards, I can live up to those standards. I fucking did in training. And on the platform, that felt embarrassing. 6 for 9. I did not work that hard to only go that far. And I mean this with like love and respect to others. I have no interest in anyone's other opinion. That was awful. That's the worst comp day I've experienced. And I have had tears that put me out of the sport for several months, but I was proud of the work I put in. I have no pride. And that was the only thing I wanted to walk away with. I was desperate to walk away with. And I'm impressed that I kept my head through that day because it was rough from the off. And it wasn't going my way, and everything seemed like it was against me. The no sleep for days, the coaching beforehand. And like, this isn't a pity party because I don't fucking want it. I just want to be honest. And honestly, it broke my heart a bit. And I called my mum afterwards and I cried. And I think it was a shock to me that I didn't feel like an athlete on the platform, but I did in the gym. And so that's where I'm stuck. I want to be an athlete. And I can be in training. But I don't know where he is on comp day. So it was a bit of an identity crisis. And I'm good now. Like, at this point, it's actually been 2 weeks. And I don't really talk about it. I've had so many people like, well done amazing. And I've been like, cool, how are you? Because that's what I do. Because I don't want to talk about it. And I didn't want to record this. And sorry, Spence, it took me so long. And I'm babbling on for so long. But I'm really gutted. I wanted to do better. I wanted to put on the performance I felt I had earned. And so for now, there's one thing I know for sure. I will not be competing in the ABPU again. And that's nothing against the Fed. They did amazing. The venue was great. The vibe was great. The community was fucking incredible. But I can't keep trying to compete where I coach. I am losing the fight to be an athlete in that environment. I can't do both at the same time, and it's breaking my heart. Because being an athlete was actually one of the most important things to me that changed my life, and it made me the person I wanted to be. Being a coach makes me someone I'm proud to be for other people, but I think I need something for me. So it's back into training. I don't know what for yet, but the only thing I want to wrap up and say is I don't get a lot of support in real support. I get the like, you're crushing it, which is nice. And I really don't want to turn my head at that. And again, this is not a pity party, but I get very little like real, how's it going? So what are you going to do? The stuff that I give to everyone else, and I do every single day. But to the guys that were there with me, and really specifically Spencer and Amelia, I am very grateful for what you gave me on that week. I genuinely think it would have been significantly harder had they not been there. And Rach, for every training session, has been phenomenal. And I know she goes above and beyond to try to care for my experience. So I am pretty down about it. And that's okay. Because the thing I keep coming back to, and this is where I'll wrap it up, I promise I'll stop going on, is for the person you want to be, what would you put them through? And every challenge I go through, that's what I think of being like, I'll be stronger for this. I learned resilience from this. I learned what it was like to fail hard at something. I failed at other things before, don't get me wrong, but failing where you were sure you would succeed is new to me. I've only ever failed when I think I thought there'd be a problem or where I could kind of see it coming. This is the first time I've been second time. I've been completely blindsided. So, yeah, I'm sorry this probably isn't the vibe that people were wanting. It's also not the one I wanted to have. I was so excited to be the other side of comp and be proud. I will find a way to get that feeling. Thank you for watching these vlogs. It feels incredibly egotistical to produce them. I'll let you guys crack on with the rest of the video. Please don't worry about reaching out and telling me I'm great. I love the people that have gone out of their way to try to say so, but I hold in regard my goals, my values, my virtues of what matters, and that will not change. I think that's it.